mainly being treated at VA hospitals.
Now, the VA hospital system is overburdened. We know that. They do the best they can. I'm sure they do. But already with SSRIs, we know that they require, in order for them to even be effective, they require a lot of adjustment, a lot of attention. Talk therapy must be involved, as well as the pharmaceutical response to depression. How much treatment are these soldiers getting along with these antidepressants?
From what I've heard, it's generally an antidepressant and next to nothing when it comes to any counseling or working through the problems. And I don't know if you noticed yesterday, the health ministries in Japan, which from what I understand is basically like their version of the FDA, issued a warning on the SSRI antidepressants saying that there is causal connection between the drugs and violence. And
so that
the most popular one has homicidal ideation as a side effect, and that's not just killing somebody. It's having constant ruminating thoughts of killing and different methods of killing. That's a side effect. It's the most popular antidepressant. Which
one has that? Which one has that as Effexor? Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So you can create this lean, mean killing machine that, of course, we would like out there protecting us, I guess. But when psychosis is listed as a side effect, too, you don't know which direction they're going to aim that gun.
What do you know specifically about what you have read about the case of Sergeant John Russell?
Next to nothing. It's really difficult on those cases to find out very much.
So they haven't said that he was on the antidepressants at the time that the shootings took place, or that he was suffering from this kind of side effect, homicidal ideation?
They have not made any statement at all.
Okay, and nor has his family.
If they were the ones giving the drug out, they're not going to be too anxious to let anybody know that they did.
You mentioned Captain Joyce Riley is the one who had come up with this number of 90% of returning veterans on some form of antidepressants. How did she gather that information? Do you know?
Well, I first met Joyce, years ago, probably the mid-'90s, when she was doing a lot of radio shows about the Gulf War syndrome.
Right, I'd had her on here a couple of times, too, yeah.
Right, I called in on the show, and I said, are you sure that all of these men are suffering from Gulf War syndrome, because so many of the symptoms you're mentioning here are side effects of antidepressants? Have you started asking to see how many of them are on them? And so she started asking at that point, and she's continued to ask. She's become very involved in this. She's been following up with soldiers who have killed their families, actually going into prisons and meeting with them and interviewing them. She realizes it's just a terrible, terrible problem.
Sure. But 90%, that's a staggering number in light of how many people are going in and coming out of Iraq.
Right. And I don't know if it's still that high.
Okay.
But why would it go down when it seems to me like it looks like it's going up to the point that the mainstream press is really starting to cover it now?
It's a tragedy obviously what Sergeant Russell did, and there seems to be some clues in the way in which his family describes the event and the way in which the Army does too. I mean, I read a little bit about that earlier. What do you hear in that story that sounds similar to other cases that you have either studied or testified to involving people who have been on these antidepressants, could not process them physiologically, whose bodies couldn't process them biochemically, and so they ended up creating a bigger problem than they were intending to solve. What's similar?
This way, it would not surprise me at all to find out that he had been given medication to calm him down until they could get him in to see him. That happens a lot. They took the gun away from him, and then later, was it a couple of days later, he grabbed another gun and took off. And where did he do the shooting? It was at the mental health area. So I look at the kid in Germany that just did the school shooting there. Where did he go? Back to where he was treated, at the mental health hospital.
No, knowing what you know and following these stories as you have over the years, Dr. Ann Blake Tracey, what do you expect we might see more of with more and more soldiers returning back from Iraq that are on these SSRIs? Statistically speaking, what do you think we should be prepared for as a society?
Well, I think it's very, very scary. It really is. We've already got suicide rates in the service higher than we've ever seen. They don't quite know what to do about it. We've got them coming home and killing their families or killing friends and then killing themselves. And then, as Stan is going to talk about, we've got so many others that are just dropping dead from the toxic effects of the drugs.
Well, we'll get to that coming up. I look forward to talking with Stan White, the man you introduced us to, a little bit later on. We'll get to him probably in about, I don't want to get started here because I'm afraid we'll just be cut off again.
Who's going to defend our country?
So
everybody left.
You think that then perhaps as the war winds down and more soldiers are coming home, what do we need to do as a country then to help get these soldiers off these antidepressants or to be able to manage their care as they're transitioning back into society?
Well, obviously, they've got to have some counseling, but they also have to have counseling on how to get off of these drugs that have horrible, horrible withdrawal effects. You haven't heard a whole lot from me for several years, mainly because I'm almost scared to death that they'll pull these drugs. I'm afraid to tell people what I know, because when they pull these drugs, this country's going to come unglued. Can you imagine how many could possibly go psychotic in the withdrawal? It's just unbelievable. And yet, if they are told how to come off of them safely, they're okay, the people around them are okay, and they get well. I just got an email from a vet just a couple of days ago, and he said, once again, keep up the good work, and thanks for your help getting me off antidepressants. I didn't even know I helped him. He apparently used my CD. He said, I've not felt this good in over a decade. It seems like the longer I'm off those medications, the better and better I get.
Right.
It's just, that makes me feel good to know that there are people out there that are doing that, and I've worked with a lot of vets that I know that that's happening. But it's horrible. We've got way too many people addicted to these drugs in this country.
And these antidepressants are the same antidepressants which are already, as you mentioned, then they're banning them around the world. Since we last spoke, is Japan the only country that has recently come out and taken measures against either the dosing of teenagers or children with these drugs or adults?
No, there's quite a few countries who have done that, but Japan, as far as I know, is the first one to come out and just say outright that these drugs are actually causing it, causing the violence.